Hi guys, welcome to A Film Darkly, where we talk about the philosophical concepts found within movies. I'm your host, Anthony Paceno, and today's episode is going to be part 2 to the Planet of the Apes trilogy, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the concepts found within Dawn, and eventually I'm going to do a War for the Planet of the Apes, a spoiler sort of review slash philosophical look at the film. I did see the movie last Wednesday, but I wanted to hold off on just doing a review because I wanted to talk about the philosophy of all three films. So Dawn is really, really interesting because if you look at the wording, it's rise, then dawn, and then you have war, and it's war for the Planet of the Apes. Kind of for obvious reasons. You see why it becomes war, and it all comes to that at the end of Dawn. So hopefully you've seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is probably one of the best of the trilogy. It's a fantastic film. But one of the things I liked so much about it was the concepts within it of human nature and the ethical dilemmas that sort of come with that I have consistently repeated throughout many of these podcasts, where I've talked about just how human beings are inconsistent in their nature. So in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you have the rise of consciousness within this chimpanzee or this ape that is Caesar, and Caesar then creates the events or the cataclysm, or however you want to word it, of making more apes intelligent, and thus being the rise of the Planet of the Apes. So they're rising up, and they're rising up from the advancement of technology with human beings, and their advancement of technology bringing them to an end. Similar, as I stated before, as like a Tower of Babel, or even in the story of Noah's Ark, where you have their civilization, everything's already existent, but it basically becomes so sinful in nature that it eventually is destroyed, whether being both cases by God. God can not only be seen though here as like an anthropomorphic figure who's doing an action, but it can also be seen as God simply being the concept of what intervenes when human beings go too far. And so Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the aftermath of this, because we see that human beings have created this disease that is making all apes more intelligent and is making all humans sick, and human beings are all dying off. So at the time of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, we're about 10 years later, and Caesar and Koba and Rocket and Maurice and the slew of other apes that have joined have all begun to have families. They all got families now, and they all have they use the terms wife, and they teach, and they built this civilization out in this forest that Caesar grew accustomed to in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. When what's his name, James Franco starts to he brings him to the forest to I don't know how to say it, I guess to spread his wings. So he starts to climb all over the place. And anyway, so now Caesar has built his civilization. The dawn of the Planet of the Apes is occurring in this forest. And for Caesar, there's peace. And they're not sure human beings even still exist, because they've all been dying off. And they're just, really not aware. Well, there comes the point where a couple of apes, one being Caesar's son, and the other being the son, Ash, of Rocket. It's Rocket's son. And they meet up with these apes, and one of them freaks out. One of the humans, he freaks out and he shoots Ash. and that creates a whole issue. So Caesar decides, okay, it turns out humans are alive, and he sends some apes to follow them and find out what's going on. And it turns out all these people have basically congregated together under this tower where they've begun to rebuild civilization. And so Caesar's like, I don't want war, I don't want to kill, all I want is peace. They can live their own way, we can live our way, that's it. And Koba is kind of like, no, we need to kill them. We need to destroy them because they will rise and they will hurt us. And there's this whole clash between Koba and Caesar, where you have two different mindsets. One that's very unforgiving of the past, and the other one that's like, we need to move forward. The problem is they both have two very different experiences. So this is part of the philosophy. One of the philosophies in this is the difference of experience. The difference that the gods, or God that created the two of you, one of you was very accepting and very loving and very caring. That's the side of Caesar. Caesar didn't see the evil side of quote unquote God until later on in the film, and then he saw, okay, it's time for me to go out on my own and do my own thing, to which Koba was an ally of, until Koba found out that the god, quote unquote, was still alive. Now for Koba, it's different. Koba had a horrible experience, was treated terribly. So this is kind of similar to Cain and Abel, where you have, Cain, whose offering was not accepted by God, but you have Abel, whose offering was, and thus Cain becomes very jealous of Abel and kills Abel. So similarly, it's sort of like Koba is angry that Caesar even wants to care about the humans, and at one point he even tells Caesar that he loves humans more than he loves ape. And that becomes an issue for Caesar. Caesar and him end up fighting and everything because he's like, no, I do not love them more. I just want peace. And that's the difference. So this isn't like a complete picture of the Cain and Abel thing. It's only a picture in the sense that their God accepted one but did not accept the other. So the one is more inclined for peace, whereas or to accept peace, whereas the other is not. So Caesar ends up gathering up all the apes. They go to the humans. They tell the humans, stay out of the forest. You stay here. We stay there. We'll have peace. And that's it. And Koba's like, no, there's more going on. And he's trying to convince himself there's more. Meanwhile, the humans are like, you have the same sort of disdain and dislike and you have the same people who just don't trust, who are like, I don't care if they could talk, they're just monkeys, they're just animals, they're apes, that's all they are, they're nothing more. And then you have the other side who's like, wait a minute, they can talk to us, they can reason with us, we have a chance for peace, why wouldn't we try for that? And so you have the main one of the main characters of this film who is trying to make peace with Caesar, and he's trying to get away he's trying to get away to get to this dam. I was trying to think of the word there. To get to this dam, because once he can get this dam operational, they'll have power. And the character, his name's Malcolm. I had to look up his name real quick. I couldn't remember. But Malcolm is basically trying really hard to keep peace. He wants to keep peace, and he wants to be able to go to this dam, get the dam working again. This way they can provide energy or power to their little community so that they can survive. But they can also call other people because there is military still alive, and they can attempt to get help. And hopefully the human beings can come together, and we can they can start to reemerge and rebuild civilization. And that's what we're given in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And so you kind of understand the human cause. I don't understand people who go see the movie and they're just like, I'm totally rooting for the apes. It's like, well, wait a minute. If you're rooting for the apes, you're kind of forgetting about your own kind. I think that when you watch this movie, you should be looking at your own kind as well, whether good or bad. And this is one of the interesting little conundrums of this film, is this movie shows us that it's not the humans that are only bad. Koba turns his back on Caesar and shoots Caesar and frames humans. And Caesar says at one point, he says, I thought ape were different than human. But they're just like them. They're exactly the same. And what Caesar is recognizing is it's the nature of consciousness, the nature of identity that rises in people. It doesn't matter what you are, you're always going to have this dilemma. And this speaks to something a whole lot greater. When we sit here and we act as though we can be better by eliminating certain ideologies, or even going as far as to saying we need to stop having certain objective ideologies or certain objective values, and just saying we need to be quote unquote equal. You know, we need to saturate everything with diversity and culture. And then we need to go a step further and saturate everything with diversity of sex. And there's no longer male and female. Now it's 1,000 different pronouns and 1,000 different genders. And we sit here and we saturate it all. And we take away the science and the biology. And we take away what we know. We've already we've already attempted to murder religion. And in some ways, we successfully have crippled it. And when we did that, we took away our foundation and our balance because of our nature to want to do so, to want to break boundaries, to be inconsistent. Religion tries to make you more consistent. But we burnt that to the ground. And after we burnt it to the ground, then what do? We had to attack science next. Science was the one who championed fighting off the religious thought, fighting off this thing that's restricting us. But now it's science restricting us. Now science must go. So we start to attack our own biology. We start to attack our own social constructs that are only based on our biology. Now, all the meanwhile, we still borrow from those things. They're not entirely dead. They aren't. But they're sure weak compared to what they used to be. And so, what you see is that fall in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. They're not going through the same thing we're going through. There's no like religion and science and all that. But it echoes in human nature that we are inconsistent creatures, and we require something to intervene to change us. And an ideology of some sort. And in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you don't necessarily get that. You have to see things come to its end, and that's where War of the Planet of the Apes is going to gets involved, because at the very end of the movie, you have war at their doorstep, all because of their inconsistent nature. Because one ape wanted peace, one ape did not want peace, so apes went down the exact same roads humans have gone down. And what that suggests is that when the future comes and there's millions of apes, you're going to have factions. Separate countries, boundaries, different cultures, different societies. See, what Planet of the Apes is showing us is a whole new cycle. It's saying, the leaders of the world are now passing away and a new leader is rising. But guess what? They're not going to be any better. And if you think they are, you're fooling yourself. Like humans, apes will discover religion. They will. Like humans, apes will discover science. And like humans, through their advancements and their disdain for ancient knowledge, because it's ancient, quote unquote, because it's historical, the apes will eventually build to the point that they will destroy themselves and something else will rise up. That's what this film is trying to show us. That's where it's going. And War for the Planet of the Apes shows us a little bit more of this. It goes a little further. So I'm going to talk about that. And I may sound very repetitive, but I will be going into that because that is what these films are showing us. That is the one element that the original Planet of the Apes never showed us. It only liked to talk. It wanted the shock of humans are gone, apes have taken over. But see, Matt Reeves and these writers have really said to themselves, what is this honestly about? And they have created something very ingenious. Because we do not attach to the apes because we feel sorry for their story. We attach to the apes because they're us. Well, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe or follow. I'm on Google Play, YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Twitter, and you can even find me on Minds.com. Don't forget to check out some of my older podcasts. So I hope you guys enjoy your day, and thanks for listening.